with the scooter operators making $100 a day and the actual phone snatcher making between $300 to $600.
This is not going to get better. We put buses there for cooling systems, but it's just not sustainable.
But in a court of law, and our profound obligation is to make sure we have the right people charged with the right crimes.
This department, this agency is not going to tolerate that. We will find you. Anyone that commits any act.
Migrants arrested in New York. According to the NYPD, a group of migrants involved in a citywide robbery pattern were the subject of a Bronx raid on Monday morning, which resulted in the arrest of 7 of them. Police suspect that they are part of the group behind a pattern of cell phone robberies occurring throughout the city. According to authorities, some of the stolen items were found during the raid. According to police, it all begins with thieves riding about on scooters stealing people's iPhones, which they then break into to access banking applications.
Ghost criminals, no criminal history, no photos, no cell phone, no social media.
Caliber handgun, a very large handgun, shoots at her into a crowd.
Yeah, criminal report. Go ahead. You know what I mean?
One incident seen on surveillance footage has a suspect on a scooter grabbing the victim's bag and hauling them outside. A raid and multiple arrests were made at an apartment in the Bronx's Allerton neighborhood on Monday as a result of the investigation. 3 more suspects have warrants issued for them by the police, and they think there may be more out there. Videos released by the NYPD depict criminals operating in pairs on mopeds, pulling on and frequently toppling over gullible victims in an attempt to get wallets, purses, and iPhones. In an apartment at 2790 Bronx Park East, which was described as a stash house or headquarters for a broad, multi-borough cell phone heist enterprise linked to over a dozen suspects, police officers made many arrests alongside Mayor Eric Adams. Police claim that a large number of them are migrants. These small numbers of people are breaking the law and are having a huge impact on our public safety, and this is why we zeroed in on them, Adams stated. We're not going to sit idly by while people choose to prey on their fellow New Yorkers. This administration, the police department, we've always talked about welcoming asylum seekers, but once you start robbing people and stealing from them, your status is criminal and you'll be treated as such. Tariq Shepard, Deputy Commissioner of the New York Police Department. It makes no difference if an individual is a long-term resident of New York or is a migrant seeking refuge. If you breach the law, our criminal justice system will look into it and take it from there, according to Adams. You should not be allowed to walk the streets of the city of New York if you are committing any form of criminal behavior that's impacting the quality of life of New Yorkers. At approximately 5:30 a.m. on Monday, the alleged ringleader Victor Pera's apartment was the scene of the arrests. Police stated that Pera is still at large. So a wave of migrant criminality has swept over our city in recent months. However, the persons committing these crimes in no way reflect the large number of people who are migrating to New York in search of better opportunities. Nevertheless, they are preying on New Yorkers and reducing the sense of safety in our city, according to NYPD Commissioner Edward Cabin.
In the past few days, and you've said this multiple times, that you are looking to judges and prosecutors to do the right thing.
From this moment on, is downhill. There is no more room.
Considering where these shootings took place, it's an actual miracle that we're not having a very different conversation right now.
The police commissioner claimed that the fact that the suspected migrants in this case had very little documentation, no social media accounts, no criminal history in the U.S., and occasionally, he claimed, it can be challenging for authorities to even verify a suspect's name or birth date, makes the case especially challenging to solve. I want to emphasize that a staggering 170,000 plus migrants and asylum seekers are trying to go on with their next leg of the journey, which is to pursue the American dream. However, criminals in this city will be dealt with just like any other. No different attitude, no different response, and no different police agency response, according to Adams. Snatch and grab robberies. We think the people in question have been connected to 62 robberies that have occurred throughout our city, including on the subway system, including stealing wallets and iPhones from New Yorkers and riding mopeds and motorbikes. These people don't possess a permit to steal in our city, according to Adams. The number of unlawful mopeds and scooters that the NYPD recovered last year was over 2,500, a 74% rise from the year before. This sequence of crimes included several robbers using mopeds to steal victims' purses and cell phones. These robbers would approach their targets on the sidewalk from behind, take their belongings, and then flee. Women make up the bulk of the victims. They are merely out on their own. Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny of the NYPD stated, "We have observed that the mopeds used in these crimes are also stolen. In NYC, scooters and mopeds are becoming the preferred modes of transportation for thieves. The NYPD has been on the attack, pursuing what it says as roving groups of illegal scooters, such to the ones employed in this ring, and CBS New York had an exclusive look at it back in July. Innocent persons are being harmed by the use of mopeds and scooters in crimes. Again, I want to be clear, anyone who use mopeds unlawfully will face consequences from the law," stated Adams. The most recent robbery occurred on Sunday night in Chinatown, according to police, and the pattern began on the Upper East Side in November 2023. The majority of the thieves in this network reside in the system of migrant shelters. Kenny stated they plan and coordinate their thefts via social media channels.
These perpetrators are part of a sophisticated criminal enterprise made up of migrants.
We now have to go out into the community and the streets where unfortunately the criminals have the upper hand.
Innocent people are caught in the middle of it.
Over the last 5 or 6 years, these two gangs terrorized an entire community.
Para would post the request on WhatsApp, according to the authorities, and it's possible that the burglars and scooter drivers are strangers. Once the messages are received, the crime wave begins with the scooter operators making $100 a day, and the actual phone snatcher making between $300 to $600 per phone that is stolen, added Kenny. After being presented with the pilfered phones, Para employed a tech guy who was able to hack into these stolen phones, where he gains access to the victim's banking and financial apps, according to Kenny. The suspects were allegedly grabbing phones because they were drawn to payment programs such as Apple Pay, according to investigators. Suspects, according to detectives, utilized credit cards connected to phones. According to Kenny, authorities have identified 14 members of the team so far, and 7 of them have been taken into custody. It's anticipated that further arrests will occur. According to the authorities, there has been no connection established between the individuals detained with the recent attack on 2 NYPD officers in Times Square. The thievery ring, according to some Bronx dwellers, disturbs them, especially for their most vulnerable neighbors and loved ones. Pamela Colin, a resident of the Bronx, said, "I'm really scared and my mother is right there, and it's very scary for the older people too. It's not right what they're doing. We have a national issue here. A national solution is required, regardless of political affiliation. For many years, Republicans have obstructed genuine immigration reform. It's time for us to address this serious problem that affects communities around the country, not just New York," Adams stated. "Cities are being impacted by this nationwide issue, and our message is very clear. Out of the approximately 175,000 migrants and asylum seekers who have come to this country, 12 are us."
This department, this agency is not going to tolerate that. We will find you. Anyone that commits any act.
Thieves would ride up behind their victims on the sidewalk, steal their property, and then make their getaway.
But in a court of law, and our profound obligation is to make sure we have the right people charged with the right crimes.
Therefore, it is incorrect for any New Yorker to view people who are attempting to realize the next phase of the American dream as criminals. We're not witnessing that. The vast majority of immigrants and asylum seekers desire employment. They wish to make a difference in our society. They feel that our efforts to halt their advancement in contributing to our society have been reversed. In no way could we take these criminals and say that they are representative of the people present. It has nothing to do with immigration or asylum seekers. It concerns criminals who have committed offenses, and whether a criminal has lived in New York for a long time or has only recently moved here, we would treat them the same. We brought these crooks to justice, Adams remarked. NYC crime spree. Numerous migrants were detained after being charged with beating up New York City police officers. There was video evidence of an alleged altercation between asylum seekers and the NYPD. While city officials have demanded harsh punishments for all parties involved, earlier a New York judge freed all but one of them without bond. Mass evictions of migrants begin in New York City. Migrants swarm hospitals, schools, and lodging facilities. The city claims that it is against New York state law to intentionally transfer immigrants to overwhelm our social services system. If a migrant stays in a shelter in NYC for more than 60 days, they will be kicked out. Angry over the evictions from the migrant shelter in NYC, politicians and immigration activists are now criticizing Mayor Eric Adams and calling for the policy to be changed. The city's public hospitals and clinics are run by New York City Health Plus Hospitals. In the last year alone, medical centers in all 5 boroughs have had close to 30,000 visits by undocumented migrants seeking medical attention. During that time, about 300 new infants have been born to migrant mothers, the majority of whom have been treated at Manhattan's Bellevue Hospital, which has seen 25% of all migrant visits.
This is not going to get better. We put buses there for cooling systems, but it's just not sustainable.
People who are open-minded to what they call migrants coming in have understood now it's costing us.
With the scooter operators making $100 a day and the actual phone snatcher making between $300 to $600.
The surge of migrants is also increasing demand for other social services in the city, such as feeding and housing programs. New York school closed to accommodate migrant workers. Storm-related decision by NYC to relocate refugees from tent shelter to school sparks controversy. Asylum seekers were bused to a Brooklyn high school to weather the storm, a move that infuriated some parents, lawmakers, and proponents of immigration. Biden and NYC are criticized by DeSantis for forcing pupils who are illegal immigrants out of school. After children in NYC were forced to leave school in order to shelter migrants, Elon Musk issued a warning saying, "We'll come for your homes." This is what happens when you run out of hotel rooms. Cities won't have enough schools to close anytime soon. Then they will raid your residences, Musk posted on X on Tuesday. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.